And now moving on to other stories, turning to the United States, the state of Michigan. A gunman has opened fire on a crowd, killing at least one person. Now, the incident happened at a neighborhood party on a basketball court in Detroit. 9 others were injured, with 1 in critical condition. Police say many children were also present in the site, but none were shot. Authorities believe that 1 individual was the target and the other victims just happened to be there. Also, in a separate incident in this city, a man was shot during a holdup at a gas station. Now, the victim is reportedly in stable condition. An average of 87 deaths and 183 injuries are caused by gun violence across the U.S. every day. Critics blame the notoriously liberal gun control laws for the high rates of shootings. Crossing over to Madison, Wisconsin, joined by American philosopher and activist Mr. James Fetzer. Good to have you with us, Mr. Fetzer. What do you make of this? It's nothing new. If we're talking about an average of 87 deaths per day in the United States, what is it going to take to control this? On the one hand, there are those who are proposing tighter gun control laws. On the other hand, many are saying that actually they need their guns to defend themselves, perhaps even against the greater authority, or big brother as they call it, in the country. What's the bulk of the problem?
The bulk of the problem is that the government is bringing us one phony attack after another. It goes back to Aurora, the Sikh temple shooting, Sandy Hook, Boston bombing. We have evidence that even the Charleston shooting was a staged event. It turns out that the shooter was wearing a bulletproof vest when he entered the building, that a jacket he was wearing has had 2 racial supremacist patches added to it. We can no longer trust our government. It's been observed if it had been a legitimate shooting and anyone in the church had themselves a concealed carry, they could have taken out the shooter, who allegedly reloaded his weapon 5 different times. The Obama administration has gone completely bananas, completely overboard with its attempts to bring us gun control legislation. Nobody died at Sandy Hook. Nobody died at the Boston bombing. Sandy Hook was a FEMA-controlled operation. We have the manual. It shows that they had the porta potties and the sign, everyone must check in. They had food and water at the firehouse. They had name tags on lanyards.
Mr. Fetzer, let me just jump in here. Let me interrupt you. Why would the United States government do this? These, what are you calling false flags? Why would they actually do this inside of their own country against their own people? What would benefit Washington?
Because all that stands between the government and the imposition of a police military state is 100 million armed Americans. I'm sorry to say, but the Second Amendment was well-founded. Americans are entitled to possess weapons to protect themselves from a tyrannical government, and this administration has proven that it is willing to go to any steps, even faking the shooting of 20 children and 6 adults at Sandy Hook to promote an anti-gun agenda. I've proven it many times. Go on YouTube to the Real Deal Sandy Hook update or to the Real Deal Boston bombing update, and you'll see what I'm talking about. This is all contrived, it's hysterical, and it seems to be in part to divert attention from the Jade Helm military exercise, which is extremely threatening to freedom and democracy here in the United States, where we're told by some of those who have been trained in Jade Helm that they're going after guns and food hoarders, defined as anyone who has food more than 7 days' supply. That's simply absurd. It's all a violation of posse comitatus, the 4th Amendment against unreasonable search and seizure, and the Trans-Pacific Partnership would enable corporations to have a superior authority, the sovereignty of nations, including the United States. They could make decisions that override those of these sovereign nations, and even if the corporations were to lose profits because of environmental protection, the countries would be obligated to repay them for that lost profit.
All right, Mr. James Fetzer, so sorry, but we're out of time. I appreciate you being with us out of Madison, American philosopher.